KVK to come, it's reset. We can know the matchmaking. Are we cooking? Yes or no, chat? Let's see them. What the fuck is this? Huh? No, wait, what is this? Greetings, Governor. Since all the kingdoms voted to reject the matchmaking results, the match has been cancelled. Your kingdom will restart the story registration process. You received the level 10 fourth trophy. What the fuck? Oh hell no, boys, it's official. We are getting edged from having a good KVK. Like, there is gooning and then there is edging. In gooning, you actually do finish the mission. In edging, you have to get close to finishing the mission. But once you're really close to finishing the mission, you have to abort the mission and continue the next day and do the same thing all over again to fucking edge. And that is exactly what is happening to us, because I had the perfect match ever. I had 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓎 gripped by my hands. Man, they were literally the camp below us. I was gonna
grab him by the pussy
and have a great time fighting on the open field, right? Because we are a seed. No, we are not a seed. We are a silver imperium fighting a golden imperium, which is 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓎, right? It's fun. Who doesn't want that? And who doesn't want that more than me? But on top of that, we had other good kingdoms as well. For example, 2359, the kingdom who beat 1846 last KVK and eventually made them disband. That kingdom, 2359, right? And we also had 2666, a majority Arab kingdom with 1.2 trillion KP, but they were in a camp with 4 kingdoms, the water camp. There you guys can see it at the bottom left, okay? So in this picture, we can see the stats of every single camp. And before we get to the stats, let me just say the reason why it got cancelled. The reason is a few kingdoms on this map didn't want to come out to fight because they saw all these big kingdoms with big amount of kill points and they were like, oh hell nah, we are dipping out. I'm taking my grandma and her 2 grandchildren and we are getting the fuck out of here, right? We don't deserve to, we don't belong here, as a matter of fact. They saw all these big boys with their big numbers and they said,
what the hell am I doing here?
The reality hit them real quick. They had a big moment of realization that if they came out and fought, they would have gotten penetrated vertically, horizontally, and perpendicularly. I don't know if that is a word, but all of those things at the same time, okay? Because, for example, we take a look at Fire Camp, right? One campmate has 2.5 trillion kill points, and their other campmate has 10 times less kill points than their Silver Imperium campmate, 2359. And they were bamboozled, rightfully so, because 1841 is 5 numbers away from 1846, the kingdom who got dismantled down to the bone by 2359. But lucky for 1841, this KVK, they have them as campmate and not as enemies, right? This KVK that was cancelled. And then we have the water camp with 4 kingdoms, which has a power of 73 billion, right? But that don't mean shit, because once again, they are 4 kingdoms in one camp, with much lower kill points than the big imperiums, the big silver imperiums on this map. And when they see these big boys, they were like, yep, we are out of here. We got no chance of even being a support kingdom, for God's sake. Because that's usually what happens in maps like these. Smaller kingdoms become support. So yeah. And then we have, of course, the wind camp with 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓎, who has almost 3 trillion kill points, and surprisingly, they do have a campmate, right? They have a campmate. What if I were to tell you, let's say Earth camp would have been just us, Fire camp would have been just 2359, Wind camp would have been just 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓎, right? That's 3 camps with 1 kingdom. And then the water camp, since the biggest boy is 1.2 trillion kill points, maybe they could have had 2 more decent campmates, and that would have been the perfect KVK. We didn't need to have all these smaller kingdoms in one map, because that made the issue bigger, right? That made them to say, no, we cannot fight. We want this KVK to be cancelled, so please do so, because otherwise we will not come out to fight. That's exactly what happened. We didn't need to have all these smaller kingdoms. All we needed was 3 big kingdoms in 3 separate camps, and then 1 camp with 1 semi-big kingdom like 2666, and then give them 2 more campmates so they can kind of equalize the power and kill points of other camps. That would have been the perfect match, right? And of course, before all of this happened, the main fault goes back to 1875 for skipping this registration. What is this? Hey bro, W meme bro, W meme. Shout out to Dragon for making this meme bro. Bro is fast. Yep, almost as fast as these smaller kingdoms saying they don't want to fight. I mean, can you really blame them? I can't. I understand their frustration. From the other side, I am frustrated myself because KVK got cancelled. I was kind of ready for it, to be honest. Like, imagine you got the condom ready, you're putting it on your dick, and then she says, well, I gotta go now because your time is over. You only had 15 minutes, and you spent it all in yapping and doing trauma dumping on me instead of fucking me. Here is another statistic. We can see if it was top versus bottom and if it was left versus right. So if it was top versus bottom, the most ideal case ever, the top side would have had 5.4 trillion kill points with 84 billion power, and the bottom side would have had 5.7 trillion KP with 97 billion power, right? This is fair. And then we had the other option, which was right versus left. In my opinion, this wasn't balanced and this was kind of ass. Nobody wanted this. So the right side would have had 5.7 trillion KP with 83 billion power, and the left side would have had 5.3 billion KP, trillion KP, wait, it says billion, trillion KP with 98 billion power. So that could have been the two possible scenarios, which are not possible anymore. And then here's a chat with support of how kingdoms KVKs can be cancelled if there are domains involved. So we asked if it's possible to cancel the KVK if we have 2 more domains registered as of now, and then the support says if domain 1 got cancelled, the domain 2 will also be cancelled automatically. And then another one saying domain 2 and 3 vote results will not affect domain 1 vote result. But if one of the 3 domains has been cancelled, then other 2 domains KVK will also be cancelled. There is no other way around it, and this is how the process works. So every kingdom gets this option, basically the voting, just like in Sorority Crisis, if you want to abandon the match, basically every single kingdom on this map has to click on reject. Otherwise, this will not go through, right? Otherwise, you will go inside KVK and either fight or have a farm KVK, which in our case, we were very lucky to be able to cancel this KVK, and unlike 1960 with 93 and 1818, those guys were kind of fucked. They weren't as lucky as us, right? They went ahead, they went straight into a farm KVK. So they didn't get this option that we did. And for that, we are very, very lucky. So this is another stats from this KVK. We have 4 big boys, 365, 2359, 2728, and 2666. We could have had 4 camps with 3 camps having the 3 kingdoms above, and then camp number 4 with 2666 having 2 decent campmates, right? And that would have been a good KVK. But sadly, it did not happen because recently we are having very, very goofy matchmakings for some reason. It happened to 2377 about 3 times or 2 times now. It happened to 1960 with 93 KVK, where they couldn't find a way to make that balanced, right? And now it happened to us, right? Which in our case, again, we were lucky to have this KVK cancelled and not go into a farm KVK because we were ready to fight. My kingdom was ready. The other 2 camps were ready, but a certain amount of smaller kingdoms on this map, they were not ready, and that's the main reason this KVK got cancelled. And I recommend you guys to go watch 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓏 last video where he talked about this problem happening to his own kingdom, 2377, and how like it's almost made them to disband. Well, they didn't disband, it's just their R5, their leader, decided to leave the leadership, right? And now they're in kind of like an awkward position. But anyway, go watch 𝒟𝒶𝒹𝓏's video. He talked about the solution of how this can be easily fixed by hiring a data analyzer, by bringing in a developer and bringing in an experienced player who can analyze kingdoms and how KVKs can be balanced. For example, ROAS, right? And just paying them to fix KVKs and matchmakings and give people good matchmakings, pretty much. So in my opinion, that's a very nice solution, a very nice fix, at least better than what we have right now. And yeah, because people are not happy, and that's going to be a problem. I hope that doesn't become a huge problem where kingdoms start disbanding because they don't get good matchmakings. Like that happens to everybody, right? Not just imperiums, but also to smaller kingdoms, like we just saw right here happen to them. These smaller kingdoms, they happened to find themselves in a KVK as big as this. So yeah, I just know that there will be a fix for this. I know that the developers and the team is already working on it, because I'm positive, like 1000%, they wouldn't overlook an issue as big as this. So guys, I truly believe that matchmaking will be fixed for the better, and it's only a matter of time. Anyways, I told the news to my in-game chat, to my boys, that KVK got cancelled, and one of them, Yasin, he was so bamboozled that he asked, what is wrong?
What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong with the language?